Now, with the custom common custom menu plugin, we do also have two features for organization. Out of the box, everything is organized according to the information in the assets. So typically, if you have an Angel asset, it has a info.txt file that tells Angel what type, what kind it is, and what group it falls under. Now, some users would like to categorize their assets in a different way. For example, by default, props and vehicles are typically found under the creature selection kind because they're being implemented as a creature. This cart right here, it may look like an object, a prop, or a vehicle, but in reality it is actually a mini that just happens to look like a vehicle or a prop. So if you go with just the description that is provided in the asset, most likely this cart would appear under creatures. So what the Commons Customs menu allows is it has a feature called the rewriter. And what that does is it allows you to define keywords, and those keywords, if they're found in either the name, the description, or the tags, and that's also configurable, so you can choose to limit it only to name or description or tags or any combination thereof. If that keyword is found there, it can translate the information to be potentially a different kind or a different group. So we can see an example of this over here. I've got here a category of props, and I've got a category of vehicles. These assets didn't say that they're a vehicle. They most likely said that they're a creature, but the rewriter has picked up keywords like cart and reorganized it into a vehicle category. So let's have a quick look at that configuration. So to use the rewriter, you create a file with a very specific file name. It is the GUID for the common customs menu .rewriter.json, and it's a very simple JSON file. The first entry here is the keyword that you're looking for, and then the second portion is the translation. So basically what this is saying is if it finds the keyword item, it's going to treat it like a effect. Effects basically are like mini, except that they hide the base. And it's going to put it into a new category called prop. Same thing if it finds the keyword object, armor, weapon, crate, treasure, whatever keywords you want. So I've listed a bunch of different keywords here that I want going into the prop category and being treated as an effect so that it hides the base. And then I've also defined here a bunch of keywords that will create a category called vehicle. So this is going to look at all the assets that I have, and any of them that have these keywords, it's going to translate into a different category. This is all being applied in memory. So the actual asset is still registered in with their original information, and this is just being applied in memory. What that means is you can very easily turn this feature off in the configuration and revert back to the original information that the asset has. So you can sort of toggle that feature on and off to see how it reorganizes it. So that's one way to modify your assets or how to categorize your assets. And the benefit of this is that you're doing this on a global scale. So it's going to run through all your assets, comparing them to these keywords. Now, if you want to get very, very specific, there is a second way that you can modify your assets, and that is to look at the assets file. When you run the Commons Customs Menu plugin, it creates in your plugins folder a folder called .cache, and then a folder with the plugin GUID. And in there, it places all of its information for registered assets. So when the plugin starts up, it will request all plugins that have registered with it to provide their list of registered assets. Normally, the first time you do that, it'll take a while because it has to go through all those. Anytime you're running it afterwards, if you haven't added more packs, it should be quick because those providers will just say no new assets found. And in the cache folder, that is where it creates portrait files for each one of those assets. These are what will show up in the software under the badges. And it will also create this assets file. This assets file is basically the master list of all your registered assets that the plugin was able to find with all of its information. So if we open it up, we can see each asset shows up, and basically the contents of that info.txt file is in this one assets file. So you can see that in here, among many other properties, you also do find that kind property and that category property. So if you want to make changes for specific assets, let's say you are using the rewriter and it's rewritten a bunch of assets to props and vehicles, but let's say one or two of your assets are wrong, or they're being picked up as a vehicle, but they're actually not. So in that case, you can go in here and you can edit the information for the individual assets, and when you restart Talespire, it will put those in that category. So this is the second way of reorganizing your assets, and this is kind of a very detailed way to edit that, since you can modify the categories or the kind on a per asset basis, whereas the rewriter is more of a global change. So yeah, that's it. These are the features that we're seeing here in the Common Customs menu, and the first plugin that is likely to be converted for using it, which is the Angel plugin CCM version. So yeah, be on the lookout for it. As I said, we will deploy both versions of Angel, the original, which will have things like the morphs and blend shapes still available, until those features are migrated into the CCM version. And that's about it.